Right, hi there. Now what I'm going to do is the like mortise and tenon joint end here. I want to get this to the right thickness. Now, according to my measurements on the 53 Goldtop, I had the depth of the mortise at 38.25 millimeters, and on the 59 plan that I've got, it gives 38.1, so 0.15, something like that, 0.1 of a millimeter different, which is bloody nothing really. So I'm going to go for around 38.1 millimeters on the end of this. Now the way I'm doing it is this thing here, which is called a safety planer. It's like a rotating planer, but the reason I'm using that is we know that this neck is perfectly square, so I want this cut face exactly parallel to this, so the neck goes in the body and it's not like rocking or anything. Now basically, I'm gonna set this up. I mean, that looks like a good starting point there. I can lock this in position with the drill depth stops. It's a bit of a pain because you've got to, run all this down, but it's not too bad once you get it initially set. So I can run this through here, then flat on this table, and just take a little bit off. I mean, you can only take a tiny bit off with this at once, probably just a millimeter, but I'll show you how it works. So this is locked, it won't go up or down now at all. So that's just taking a little bit off, so I'll go a bit lower. So now this is cut, it should be parallel, it took a consistent cut. Let's just check that. So we've got 42 millimeters one side, 42 millimeters the other side, sort of thing. So that's as good as, that's parallel, so we know it's cut in parallel. And if we check along the length, that's still 42 there, and 42.09 at that end, so we know everything is perfectly square. So I want to take this down by around about 2 millimeters, get it somewhere around the 38.1 mil. See what we are now, 41.3 millimeters. We've got a little while to go yet, but 40.8. I'll switch you off and I'll get back to you when I'm down there. Okay, I've finished that now. Planed it down to the right size, and if we look at we're 38.26, 38.1, 38.05, 38.23. So, you know, that's good enough for me, sort of thing. And to be honest, this thing is very rocky. I need to get a new one. So that's done that. Now, I was talking about the headstock end here, the headstock end here, and the thicknesses. Let me just go and check and get back to you what we've got. Right, okay, basically on my my drawings measuring the 53, we've got a headstock thickness at the moustache end of 14.5, and before it runs into the transition into the neck, we've got 15.5, 15.49 actually, but so basically there's a millimetre slope in thickness on here. Now there's also a veneer to go over the top of here, which is typically a millimetre thick. So what we want really is for this headstock to be 13.5 mil at this end and 14.5 before it runs into the transition. So what we then you know, you add the millimetre of the veneer on, and you're back up to 14.5 and 15.5. So what have we got currently? We weigh thick here. We've got 18 millimetres at that end and 21 millimetres at that end, so we've got tons to take off. But I always find this job really difficult. If I try and do it on a bandsaw or something like that, I end up really cocking it up. So I do basically the same thing here, leave the headstock flat and then cut it down on this thing, but I put a 1 millimetre spacer underneath here so it's tipped up a bit, so it will get that 1 millimetre slope. So I'll get that done and then get back to you. So hi there. So what I've done, you can see I've got the 1 millimetre filler strip there to get the headstock cut on this sort of slope, and I've just gone through it so a couple of times so you can see that it's nice and parallel, the back and front. There's no wedginess about it, and if we look on here now, I've cut down to 16.64 millimetres at the thick end, and it's 15.4 millimetres at the other end, so it's got an exact 1 millimetre. That's impressive actually. It's got an exact 1 millimetre taper, so we're on the right track. The only thing I've got to watch when I'm doing it on this is that, you know, you want to keep the whole headstock on the table, and I can just do it by angling this plate a little bit and going over it. So let's just take a little bit more off now. We've still got, what have we got, 14.5, 13.5, we have 15. Oh, let's just go again and see. See what we are now with it. I'm always so nervous doing this bit with the headstocks because I've cocked a few up before, made a right mess of it. So we're 15.34 there, and we're 16.4 there. So we wanted to come down, it's 14.5 wasn't it, so we want to come down to 13.5 mil there. So yeah, we got a little, not much to go now, but let's wind down a bit more and get covered. See what we are now. I mean, we want to stop a bit before that because we obviously want a bit of sanding room. So we are 15.1 at that. Let's just check this thing. Yeah, exactly 0. So we're 15 point. So we got, yeah, we've still got, and we're 16 at that end. So we want to come down to 14.5 at this end and 13.5 that end, or thereabouts. Just going to check that. Just a tad more off, I think. Let's see what we are now. 14.15 at that end and 15 at that end. You know what, I'm going to leave that as that. I'm happy with that because this isn't particularly well, and by the time I do a bit of sanding on there, will be, so we've got the right slope on it now. We've got a millimetre slope and we've got about 3/4 of a millimetre to sand off there. In addition, what was I going to say, you know, be careful with this transition to leave plenty of meat on there for the curve into the neck. You know, don't bring this cut up too close, otherwise you'll end up with too much of a V there. So we're all quite good on that now, and you know, when I glue the cheeks on this to widen up for the headstock, you know, I've got some finishing to do with those and things like that, so it should all sand down. That's actually like perfect for me there, so that's really good. So let's get on now and do the same on this, and then we'll go from there. Get back to you. Well, here we go. I'm laying out the necks now and introducing some accuracy to them. So what you know, the first thing, you know, where basically the neck starts off from, in my view, is like the line of the top nut where the fretboard actually starts. So that is driven by basically the slope angle of the headstock meeting the angle of the joining face for the fretboard, and the top nut actually starts about the top nut on this guitar was something like 4.6 millimeters thick. So if you measure from that apex there back 4.6 millimeters, that's where your nut will go. So I've drawn a line on there. Right, that's where the nut is. Now the joining line with the body was 380.33 millimeters from the nut to there. So I've drawn that line on there, so that's basically where the tenon starts. Now, here's the fretboard I've got that I'm working to. I'll put that on one of the necks and line it up with the top nut here, and when I look back here at the body joint, that line we just drew, it's just after the 16th fret. And when I look on here, my drawings, I have here by coincidence 16th fret. It's just about 1/8 of an inch forward of the body joint. So, you know, there's checks and balances there, because that is exactly the same lining up on the 16th, just after the 16th fret. So we know we're dead right. Now, interestingly, another really nice thing that's worked out is my details of the headstock I've got here that I've drawn. Now, the start of the cutout for the truss rod starts at 16.75 millimeters forward of that nut line, fretboard nut line again. So I drew that on across both necks, and the full length is 38.1 millimeters. And when I actually measured that down there, it comes out exactly to the end of the truss rod cutout. So you can see how that makes sense. We did the truss rod to a certain depth, to the depth, forgotten what it was now, at this end of the fretboard. So that's whizzed out to the exact dimensions of the end of the sort of cutout channel for the truss rod. So you can see that, you know, I mean, that's exactly what Gibson would have done if they were building the thing. They'd have, you know, cut the truss rod slot. Oh, let's just trim it out till the end of that, so you haven't got anything ugly looking there. So, you know, everything is kind of working out really well now we're making them. So I'm quite excited, really. And in addition, you know, we've used the 59 plans for reference as well, and everything is like working out as it should. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to cut these like fluty things in for the truss rod nut. These can be a bit awkward to do, but and it's really like a hand job. Unfortunate turn of phrase, but yeah, there's not many, you know, I've not seen any cutters or anything, or any automated tools that will help you do that. So we'll just go with a hand job, eh? So get me gouge out and hand job it. Yeah, so there we go. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then once I've done that, I can actually put the truss rod in. We don't need these on anymore because I've just been lining everything up. What I've also done as well is I've cut the necks to length just with a chop saw, so again it's perfectly square. So now we'll get on with doing this, and I'll get back to you when I've had fun. Yeah, cheers. Well, I've done the beginning of the, well, I mean, it's good enough for now sort of thing, but obviously the veneer's got to go on top. So there's the truss rod opening there now done, and of course you've got to do it deeper than the slot, because, you know, the nut goes on the bottom and you've got to get a spanner underneath it and things like that. So there still might have to be a little bit of adjustment on there as well, but I don't want to go too deep unnecessarily, obviously, for weakening things. So we can actually, what we can actually do now is, because I know the length of these, well, from the 59 plan of, were they 463 or something, but in here you've got that funny D-shaped washer that goes in, and then you've got the nut on the end. So, you know, if I place that in there, there'll be enough room for like the washer and a nut. And you don't want too much threaded section sticking out. I don't think you know, I've ever seen a Les Paul nut where it's been you know, drastically like long, you know, long threaded bit sticking out, because that actually sends alarm bells among guitar repairers who kind of think, oh Christ, you know, the truss rod's pulled out or something. So what I'll do is go and have another cup of coffee and a packet of crisps, and then come back, and then we'll have a look at where things are, because I think I actually want to take that a little bit deeper, because of that housing, because you know, now I've pushed the truss rod right down in there. I don't think there'd be much room for a spanner underneath a nut sort of thing, which is the last thing you want. So I'm go a bit deeper there, and then we can position the truss rod in there and then mark exactly where you want the hole for the barrel nut to go in. So there we go, get back to you soon. Oh, hi there, just getting to close of play today. Yeah, I was going to put the truss rod in and the filler strip and everything like that, but I think I'll actually get the brass nuts first, and then I can trial fit the truss rods in and make sure I've got enough room underneath for a socket wrench. So what I've done is I've put the side cheeks on the headstocks kind of thing. Pretty easy job really. I used the scrap wood that I had from the neck. I don't know if you remember the bit I cut off the side sort of thing. So basically, you know, the grain's going to match best it can, and you know, it won't look too out of place with anything. I mean, you can see the colour of it is pretty much identical. So everything is done now, glued up. Gluing these on, got to be careful that they don't slide sort of thing, but you know, a bit of clever clamping and you're all right there. So we've actually done quite a bit. I'm still waiting on the maple top for the body. Hopefully they'll be in later on this week. And I mean, the thing is, you know, you saw the videos of me making the Flying V. That really is, you know, I wouldn't say it's an easier guitar to build, but it's less time consuming, because you know, you haven't got the arch top to do and carve, and you haven't got any fancy crown inlays. They're just dots sort of thing. And again, on the headstock, you know, you haven't got the inlays either. You've just got like a stand-up lettering sort of thing. So Les Pauls do take a, you know, a bit more to build kind of thing. But well, good morning and welcome. Oh, it's good afternoon actually. Been working on something else this morning, and welcome back to 3R Guitars and this 53 Les Paul build. Well, I'm not sure if I got it on video actually, but just finished off yesterday by gluing the wings on the side of the headstock. Now I've, as you can see, I've planed them down and filed them. I mean, pretty much quite an easy job, especially on the top. You can just run a plane across it till you're close and then file it. The back is a bit more difficult because you can't get a plane on it, but one of these rasps, Chinese, the Japanese Shinto rasps, worth their weight in gold. And on this really soft mahogany wood, type wood, make short work of it. So we've got both the headstocks wings done now. So the next job is doing the headstock shape. Again, I'm probably opening myself to like, you can't do that, but oh well, whatever. So I drew the headstock out in great detail from the 53, and I think when I was making the 59s, well, I know I bought this for the 59s, which is with a headstock routing template. Might have been from Bartlett, I can't remember, to be honest. But you know, sort of it was sort of guaranteed to be the right profile for a Gibson headstock, and then when I actually stick it on top of the drawing I made from the 53, it is absolutely identical. The only difference is that the Gibson logo is higher, it's lower on the 53 sort of thing, so ignoring that. So what I want to do is place this on here now, and it has notches that have been probably laser cut, I think, where the top nut is, and also it has a cutout for the truss rod. So what I've done is, we know this truss rod section is right down the middle sort of thing, so I've extended that to the end of the headstock, both sides of it, and so I can line up the centre of the moustache at the end. And what I can do at the beginning is, if I put this scrap bit of 3/16 in, I can slide that in there, that's a tight fit in there, push the headstock profile on there, and line up the top nut cutouts absolutely perfectly there. It's about there. Line up the end here, and if we draw around, get the headstock marked on there sort of thing in the right place. It can be a bit difficult cutting out the headstock actually to shape, because and if you do it on a bandsaw, you've got to either like hold it up and roughly cut round it. I mean, if you do it upside down, you've got to somehow mark it on the back, which isn't easy. What I do is I'll roughly cut it to shape on the bandsaw, screw this on via the couple of tuner hole screws, and then I can round it with a bearing guided router. So let's get the other one marked as well. So right, we've got both marked now, so I'm just going to roughly cut them out on the bandsaw, just close sort of thing. I mean, I could do it all the way with the router, but well, let's just do it on the bandsaw. I'll do it quickly now. Well, I've roughly cut the headstock shape out. The important thing, I mean, I know this template is accurate, but obviously, like, accuracy is everything, because you know, if your beginning of the neck is off centre or something like that by the nut, the fretboard's never going to line up. So just be careful, you know, with the fretboard and everything like that, that everything does line up. I mean, that template gives you a little spare in width there for when you come down to shape the neck. sort of thing. So next job now is screwing this template, headstock template on, and then we can route round it and get a nice shape. So there we go, let's do that. Okay, here we go, we've got the template screwed on now, and we've got my posh router cutter with a bottom bearing on it. I mean, this is obviously getting to the stage now where if you make any cock-ups, you know, you are really throwing away a lot of work. So it's well worth being double checking and being careful and everything like that. The one thing I'll be doing, I can route round here, I can route round this bend here, this sharp edge here, because the router is peeling wood away, but when I get to this corner, it's likely to dig in and snap off, so I'll leave that and do that by hand. Everything else should be okay, but I mean, must confess, even I get a bit nervous around this time, so let's see how it goes. Again, make sure it's screwed on firmly and everything. Right, so you can see now I've routed round there. Obviously you're not going to get the sharpening of the moustache sort of thing, the most inner bit, and I've left that bit there and I'll cut that by hand. But there we go, let's take it off and take a look. God, it sucks having to wear glasses. Right, there we go. So we've got the headstock shape coming along. Now I can just trim this up there, and there we go from there. Okie doke. Just to show you an example, I'm doing the second headstock here. Everything's going fine, but you can see how the wood's split away because the cutter's going this way, and it's just taken a little bit of the edge off there, and that's the sort of thing I was afraid of happening on the end up here. But I mean, it's on the scrap wood and it won't be any problem, probably because I was trying to be a bit too enthusiastic with cutting, but there we go. Well, here you go, here's the two headstocks done. Now, I mean, obviously there's you know, a triangular file to put in the middle of the moustache there, and I've sanded off the bit that I left from routing there. I mean, the general consensus of opinion is that the moustaches are a bit wonky on one side anyway, so yeah, I'm after doing that job, I'm actually feeling a bit like Life of Brian, being a very naughty boy. But yeah, okay, I've done it now and hold my hand up to it. But yep, so there we go. What I think I'll do next, actually, I think now I can finally get back to my least favourite, working with metal, because I want to actually fit these truss rods now. I've ordered some nuts off the internet, but the washers, the D-shaped washer, I mean, some Gibsons were just fitted with just normal washers, but generally it's the D-shaped washer that goes in there. And the ones you buy, I mean, this truss rod axis recess is actually 15 millimeters wide, measured from the original. This one for some reason turned out a little bit wider, but not forgetting that the veneer's got to go on top anyway, so I can adjust. So I've got to make the D-shaped washer again now, which is quite a chunky bit of steel actually. So but once that is done, at least that pain in the arse will be all over. And yeah, okay, I'll get back to you with that. Cheers. Well, hi there. I didn't really record anything about let me go and close this door because it gets bright. There we go, that's more sensible. You can see my wonderful hair. Right, I made these washers, for these D-shaped washers for the end of the truss rods. Now they're actually quite thick as you know, as compared to standard washers. So I've measured them at roughly, I mean they tend to be very crude anyway and they're obviously stamped out, but I've measured them I think at 3/32 thick. So this is a plate of steel 3/32 that I cut them out of. It's quite a struggle to make them. Firstly, I cut a strip the right width, which is 15 millimeters or thereabouts, and then I drill the holes to clear the truss rod. So I mean, it's not threaded. I mean, the reason why that's a bit tight is because I've been filing it and stuff. There we go, that one runs through. But then what I do, I like measure down, you know, from the bottom of the truss rod, from the middle of where the truss rod is to the bottom, to give yourself the bottom of the washer, and then they usually come to just below the top here, which, not forgetting you've got the millimeter of what's it on it. So anyway, here's the little kiddies I've made, two like this sort of thing. I mean, like I say, they were very, very crude and just whacked out. So the hole is slightly bigger than 3/16, so it goes over the truss rod. And I don't know if you can see, but there's those like barbed edges to them at each side that kind of digs into the headstock wood. That's quite easy to do, just put them in a vise and give them a wallop sort of thing with sort of another square edged bit of metal on the outside, and that tends to make them look like they've got the stamped barbs on the end, and the barbs stop it twisting sort of thing. But I've looked at, you know, a few of these over the years and they all seem to be different, and it would seem very sensible to buy them, but I haven't seen them at vintage sizes, because the modern truss rod nut cavity seems to be nearer 18 millimeters, something like that, whereas the older ones are narrower, and I've not seen the narrower D washers. So anyway, there's two made now, so you know, I can put them in, and at least that's all the darn metal work done, which I absolutely hate. So that's nice. So now, you know, with this truss rod truss rod washer done now, I can, you know, I can put the truss rod in and, you know, exactly judge where I want the hole at the end to go, because you don't want too much truss rod sticking out past the nut. You know, it was very minimal sort of thing, you know, probably something like that. But you know, that would be fine. If you see any more thread out of the brass nut on the end, you tend to think, oh god, this truss rod slipped or something. But yeah, so it's nice to get those done, because believe me, I do not like doing like metal work very much. So I think I'm gonna call it a day there, because going down the pub tonight, have a bit of a sit down and whatnot. So there's this one. Oh, the truss rod's not in properly, but there's this one in, and there's that one in as well. So you can see they look about right. I mean the way I made them, like I said, I cut a strip 15mm wide, which is the width, drew a centre line down, centre punched 2 holes far enough apart to make 2, drilled through them, then hacksawed them basically and ground them, used my grinding sharpening stones sort of thing, grindstone, and just made them like that. Yeah, not a big deal really, but like I say, I just friggin' hate doing metal work. I don't know why, but there we go. So we'll finish off there. Thank you very much.